Welcome to the start of this new playlist, Data Facts. As I always say, folks, you cannot argue with facts. Fact is a fact, right? So that's what I'm going to be working on in this playlist. Basically get into the crux of why I am doing Start Building Me. As a data analyst for nearly 20 years now, I have noticed a growing amount of obesity, people being overweight. It basically boils down to two categories: sedentary lifestyle and overconsumption. They contribute to over half, it's actually over 60% of our healthcare expenditure due to the conditions that they create, various forms of cancer, obviously obesity, coronary artery disease, heart attacks. It's there's a whole bunch of things, but basically, they boil them down into about three categories, and those three categories are the things that kill most of the people in Western society. A fair question to ask after observing data for so long now in healthcare is whether or not the rate of obesity is actually exponential. By exponential, you would have seen an exponential curve, which is slow gradient upwards and then rising very quickly up to the top is what an exponential curve looks like. So I figured the best way to get a quick answer for this was asking the Chat AI feature of ChatGPT. Yes, the rate of global obesity has been increasing exponentially since the 1900s. The number of people classified as obese has been growing rapidly as the rate of increase has accelerated in recent decades. The widespread availability of high-calorie, nutrient-poor foods combined with increasingly sedentary lifestyle, what I've always been talking about, has contributed to this trend. In addition, the increasing prevalence of obesity in low and middle-income countries has added to the overall global burden of disease. The exponential rise in obesity is a cause for concern as the majority risk factor for a number of chronic health conditions, including heart disease, diabetes, and certain cancers. So there you go, folks. A summary from ChatGPT is pretty much on the money. It breaks it down into what the cause is and basically what the results are. Now, it doesn't get too specific with the data. It's only got data up to 2021, which is all well and good, but as I wanted to have at the start of this playlist, to show you my whole purpose here at Start Building Me is to dig down into the data and look for evidence that supports the fact that I'm always saying here that sedentary lifestyle and overconsumption, or poor diet is something that is a bigger problem than people are giving credit to, or rather shouldn't be giving credit to. Another question that I thought would be good to ask it is, what percentage of the deaths in the West could be attributed to obesity? Obesity is a major contributor to a number of chronic health conditions and is estimated to be responsible for a significant proportion of deaths in Western countries. According to the World Health Organization, the WHO, around 3 million deaths globally each year can be attributed to obesity, and the majority of these deaths occur in high-income countries like Australia, the United States, the UK, Western Europe, etc. So it's a pretty big problem, folks. It's not only the aggregated healthcare or health data sources like the WHO, but every regional ones or federal reports. It is difficult to estimate the exact percentage of deaths in the West that can be attributed to obesity, as the impact of obesity on health is complex and multifaceted. Like pretty much all healthcare issues, really. It's hard to really boil down exactly what it is to one thing. As they say, it's multifaceted, a whole bunch of things, variables come into the mix. However, some studies suggest that obesity is responsible from anywhere from 5 to 20% of all deaths in Western countries. Additionally, the risk of death associated with obesity increases as the severity of obesity, as measured by the body mass index, increases. So yeah, we know the body mass index isn't perfect, but like anything, it's just a scale, right? It's a gauge to see where you are on this body mass index. And just buyer beware, caveat emptor, is I am borderline being overweight on the scale, and I'm a 6'2.5" male that is 86 kilograms, and as you can see, I don't really look like I'm overweight. So as I said, buyer beware. It's just a scale, folks. But what I want to touch on here, and why I'm really adamant about why Start Building Me needs to be something that governments and education systems should probably take into consideration, is 5 to 20% of people, percentage of deaths in Western countries being attributed to obesity is a terrifying statistic, right? Even at 5%, that's terrible, but you know, 1 in 5 people, that is absolutely off the scale. That is, as I've always explained, the real pandemic that we're faced with in modern times, especially in the West, but growing pretty much everywhere else, especially due to soft drinks, which is another video that I'll get into in the coming future. But soft drink companies really have a lot of blood on their hands, folks. Stay away from them, stay tuned. Now it finishes, it's important to note that while obesity is a majority contributor to the burden of chronic disease and death, it is also a preventable risk factor. Preventing and treating obesity through healthy lifestyle changes and, if necessary, medication and surgery can reduce the risk of developing chronic health conditions and improve overall health and well-being. So intervention is important, folks. Intervention is possible if you start as soon as you can. And folks, as I'm always saying, this is something that you should really prioritize in your life. It's not something that you can say I'm too busy for. Time does not care about this. You've got to find time. That's just the way it is. So basically, a quick, very rough, you know me, I've got to start somewhere. Sorry about the poor quality content, folks, but it will be progressing over time, just like Start Building Me's suggestion that, you know, with repetition, with consistency, things get better. No different than this site itself. I just wanted to have a benchmark, so to speak, a beginning to show you why I'm doing this. These are very well-known data facts.